Campaign 3 Breakdown. Discuss some characters, things we've all wanted to know.
Do we want to start with characters, or do we want to start with the campaign in general?
I see campaign in general.
Yeah, campaign, yeah.
Okay.
Start with that. Just 2 campaign questions to ask the Lord.
So, I was heavily inspired. So, all my campaign notes are in this thing, and then I got 2 notebooks at home. It was highly inspired by Final Fantasy 7, 13, and 15. And I've always wanted to do like a high fantasy steampunk setting. I've had the basic idea for this campaign since high school, but I just never had a good group to really do it with. So it was just sort of building the campaign from the ground up and taking inspirations from some of my favorite stories and throwing in NPCs that matched each of your characters. That could be certain foils or NPCs that I just came up with randomly that I thought would be a lot of fun. But I'm kind of a sucker for a story about like lost princesses and princes and whatever.
Nice.
It's a bit of a cliche, but I love the cliche for some reason. But a lot of where the story came from was informed from what each of you guys did, which each of your characters were looking for some sort of family. The exception might have been Ash, but at least your problems were still family-centric.
Mm-hmm.
So
You got mommy and daddy issues.
Yes, very, very much.
So that's
She's running away from the mommy issues.
that's kind of where the idea of like having Tiamat having a daughter with Quantum's dad came from.
Well,
Originally, it was just supposed to be Tiamat leading this giant cult organization, but I thought adding more flavor and there being a daughter who I based off of Gamera from like the Japanese films.
Yep.
Hence the flying turtle.
Yep. Oh yes. It took me back.
But again, a lot of it was just like pulling threads from your guys' backstories and sort of expanding on the original idea that I had. But I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions about how I handled their backstories or NPCs or anything like that?
A lot of sessions to think over.
Was Lilith supposed to be there the entire time, or was that really just a nat one gone wrong?
So,
Gone off the rails.
the purpose of the train and all the NPCs there were to see which NPCs you guys would gravitate towards, because they each had a story that direction they could take, depending on who you guys gravitated towards.
That's really cool.
So,
Smart too.
Yeah, very good idea.
her original path that I figured she'd probably go on was she'd be somewhat antagonistic. She also had the potential to become a council member that got infected. Obviously, that never happened.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You think a demon can make cookies that good?
So,
She's making cookies for a demon.
yeah, she was by far the biggest, like, left field curve.
Thrown in session 1.
Right in session 1.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful nat 1. It's a great nat 1.
Yeah.
It started a long line of nat ones surrounding Wander. Typically rolled by me.
I don't think it hurt anybody's feelings, but did you have a favorite arc that you liked playing out or seeing kind of come to fruition, or is it kind of all
It's kind
in
of
their own ways?
It's kind of all in their own ways. I can't pick a favorite. Like, I had a lot of fun working with everybody's different backstories and figuring out what I wanted to do, but also like trying to walk the line of what I thought you guys would enjoy. And it seemed like nobody was disappointed, so it's just a matter of like taking the breadcrumbs that you guys give me and just sort of trying to run with it and have a general idea of what you guys might be looking for your characters.
Did the individual islands throw you for a loop at all within the
Not really. I thought they integrated pretty well.
Yeah.
And I mean, nothing threw the story off or anything.
Good.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not that I can recall.
How early on were you expecting that relationship with Ash and Marina to go the way it
So I would say Marina was like one of the few NPCs that I built for everybody, like for the entire group, and she was also one of the few NPCs that by the end of the story had a different relationship with each of you. Whereas like Wander had Lilith, you had Artemis, Quantum had Alatar and Sorbo, and so on and so forth. But Marina
We
had
all had to compare.
different
Oh, heck.
paths to take. So if you didn't like take, I don't want to say the bait, but she definitely has a type. But
I ran with the bait.
she could have gone romantic with either you, Corey, or Wander. Depending on how things.
I put the ring on it, okay?
That would have been interesting.
That would have changed so much.
But yeah.
Polly.
I wanted it. I put the ring on it.
What about you? Like, when do you think for Ash you knew that this was a potential love interest?
I think it was made pretty clear pretty early on that, I don't know, I kind of got the vibe that it was meant to be a potential love interest, and I was just kind of feeling it out at first, and then I think it was when she invited me to her house that I was like, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So to me, Ash always seemed the most obvious for Marina, and part of it also was like a question of fate because her mom was also a love interest of Sergei, your uncle's.
See, I wasn't sure if that was added after the fact or if that was just coincidental.
It was coincidental. It was not added after the fact. I kind of had Marina's backstory along with Lady Lunafray kind of in mind when Lumella showed Amir that picture back in Campaign 2. Mm-hmm. So that's
Remember that?
I do.
Wait. You said Marina's mom. Was Linda Marina's mom?
Yep. So she survived her battle with Tiamat, and she doesn't age like normal people. She kind of ages similar to elves, and that's kind of why Lumella was really adamant on getting her out of Airborne because they grew up together. So they were like sisters. So she wanted to take her somewhere safe and far away from the kingdom, so that way she wouldn't have to have the responsibility of being Lady Lunafray anymore. Regardless of whether or not she eventually regained her memories because her mind was all over the place.
I didn't think she was Lady Lunafray, but I thought very confidently that she was Marina's mom, and we had conversations about that.
Yeah.
So many conversations.
Yeah, she lost her memory and then became a servant at some point. She became a servant at the council member's keep, and that's when she had an affair with Marina's birth father. So,
Wild.
but I'm curious as to how you guys went about building your characters before the campaign, if you can remember that far back, and how they ended up compared to how they started.
Oh, how did I choose Quantum?
Y'all already know how I chose Ash
Yeah.
and why I chose Ash. Because why wouldn't I run with that?
For Corey, I knew that I wanted to do a monk inspired by a Darren. I saw that dope monk shit. I was like, that looks like a lot of fun and a lot of creativity, a lot of Matrix style combat,
Yeah.
which is what I was looking for. Goliath, just wanted something completely opposite of what I've been doing. And I've been doing short, so I was like, let's go super big. So opposite. So I have the opposite problem. Now I can reach everything, but now I bump into stuff or something like that. And then just looking up Goliath's, their backstories of like what they generally do, that they're nomads. And I took that nomad idea because I needed to make him a monk, so I needed to make him stationary, because monasteries are stationary, and that's opposite of being nomadic. So I twisted their culture a little bit to make them different types of Goliaths that end up actually discovering agriculture and starting actually a village rather than being nomads who travel mountain to mountain. But after that, I knew that I had that split personality sort of thing with Chester in there to throw into the mix, and that you guys were going to meet him at a really bad time in his life where he's breaking a lot of his monastery rules and commandments, being a bad boy, And then because he works with you guys, being a good boy. Well, with that one
Were we
criminal,
that good of an influence?
there's that one criminal charge. But, I mean, I escaped with one criminal charge. I think you guys really aren't that bad of an influence.
I feel like that was a good,
Yeah.
good ratio there.
Exactly. Just because I wasn't on
Merely
Overdor, too.
trespassing, not breaking and entering.
How do you-
Broke nothing.
How do you feel about how Corey ended up by the end of the campaign?
Fantastic. Like his evolution from the introduction of Rayon and onward was very, very fun to plan out. I had a lot of fun thinking of integrating story-related things into his background and then helping that progress. So I think the ending, he ended where he kind of began before, if you would have met him before his fall of his clan, where he was a good-hearted, good boy who followed his commandments, worked hard and diligently, and tried to be a good warrior. So I think at the end of it, I'm satisfied with everything that happened with him.
Good.
Honestly, there isn't anything that was unfulfilled.
I'm glad he didn't try to sleep with Artemis at the beginning.
That was a fun reveal.
The funny thing is that it's like I don't know why it just never was a thing for me, but yes, that was an amazing reveal. I thought about that for like 4 days. I'm like, I told everybody over here, I was like, my character's been looking for her sister. She's there since episode fucking 1. It's like episode 1, she's been there. Just haven't chatted her up enough. It's like, that's weird. You have my tea from my homeland.
Oh. What a coincidence.
Corey. He doesn't roll insight checks. That was one thing I decided for Corey, was he won't roll insight checks because he's sort of naive in that way they trust people.
Yep.
So I just wouldn't roll it. Every time you guys roll insight, he's just like, he's not.
Just take that one out.
Yes, he's not actually checking. Like, he's just gonna think it's true.
Of course you're not going to.
Right.
What about Ash? I mean, I know you obviously started with Curse of Strahd.
How'd you decide the look and the passiveness and decide to go that route of being passive? What made you want to do that?
Well, so even before meeting you guys, a lot of the characters that I've played have been really heavy damage dealers. Like, that is just the style of play that I do. Because I kind of struggle with the role play sometimes. Like, I feel more comfortable as the DM versus as a player trying to role play at a table.
Yeah.
I know that that's something that I struggle with. So I often play really heavy hitters. And you saw that with Millennial. Locke was one of the first times that I had diverged, and she was still a heavy hitter. A reasonably heavy hitter.
Just ask Chester.
So-
wait, you can't.
He's dead.
He's dead.
He's a pair of drumsticks.
He's dead.
So I kind of had the idea when we started dealing with Strahd, and he introduced the idea that Strahd was trying to figure out how to have kids. I was like, wait, you've got to make that happen. And he agreed, and he let me, and he let it happen. And so my idea was, well, why don't I just, like you, go completely opposite from what I typically play as a character.
Nice.
So 100% passive was my idea. Really hard to do in D&D. I struggled with it a lot, I'll be honest, but it also worked, I think, for the character backstory, because I had Locke, who we all know enjoyed waterboarding.
Was insane. Absolutely batshit. So it makes sense that their child can become a bat.
I didn't think that she was that crazy, but every time you talk about Locke, you're just like, she's batshit.
Have you re-listened to the sessions?
Right.
Have you ever,
She
like-
really is. She's,
Locke was down for anything, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but Locke had no boundaries.
right.
I mean, I was playing a true neutral character.
Well, and your character was from the Underdark at some point.
Yeah.
So, it had a dark history, dark past, so it makes sense that you'd be desensitized and stuff like that. It was just fucking hilarious.
And so playing with that idea and playing with the idea that Ash came from Locke and from Strahd, made it interesting for me to try to go completely passive. Like, I absolutely can't stand my parents. My parents are crazy nut jobs. I'm going to be nothing like my parents. And then eventually accepting the fact that I am just like my parents. And, you know, doing the shadow magic, which leaned a lot into Strahd, and then the healing, which turned out was really just luck. So, playing with that aspect a lot. Also, interesting thing that was never, it just never came to fruition. I mean, I think I kind of touched on it when I was talking with Amir, but he left it up to me to how the memories happened, because they were inserted for me growing up. Basically, Locke didn't know that Strahd had input memories, and so I had Locke's version of what my childhood should have been stacked on top of what Strahd thought my childhood should have been, and so I had both sets.
I think that's called schizophrenia.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
So.
And did you expect to turn into a giant bat at some point?
But I loved it. It was my favorite thing.
It was a nice surprise to all of us.
Until we couldn't get it out, and I was like, ah, shit.
So yeah, Quan tried to put her in a box. So calm down.
She'll wear herself out. You'll be fine.
I just hope that you guys enjoyed my description of that, because I had no idea that was coming until he threw it at me, and it happened in the moment, and I was just like, okay, this is how I'm going to play it.
I think I literally just texted you, hey, by the way, you're about to turn into a giant bat.
Yes, that was it. I had no warning. I had no forethought.
Well, because your character wasn't expecting it either.
Right.
So
Yeah.
man, it's very easy to roleplay.
Yeah, honest.
Right? It's
Accurate.
Some honest roleplaying.
So about
surprise.
speaking of quantum, what about whole quantum?
I knew
let's
nothing
see.
about him going into this. You were like, absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Lockdown.
Yeah, let's see. I think the main inspiration for him came from K2SO and Rogue One,
Nice.
the sarcastic robot.
Perfect.
Nice.
And I was like, how do robots get made? I don't know, a wizard fucking made them.
Okay.
And I was like, well, wizard made me. That's gotta be, he made me be a servant, his master. He's my master, that's great. What could go wrong in his life that I would have to stop that? Oh, he fucking disappeared. It's like, how does a wizard disappear? Oh, his whole tower's just gone. That's fine. Let's see. One thing that y'all could have asked at any time, I don't think you thought about, was I was 207 years old, so I've run for a couple hundred years, and he was a human.
What?
Yeah, his original race was a human.
Really?
How does that work?
Yeah, how does that work?
I was in my background, I was like, he's a wizard, I'm sure he can figure out how to extend his life. And you made him a lich, like, that works.
So.
Oh, I thought you meant quantum used to be
Oh,
human.
no.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I thought you were
yeah,
saying.
it's like that is a
Alatar
twist.
was. No.
It's like quantum used to be a human. He was a real
True
boy.
polymorph.
Right. It's like, damn.
No,
That
Alatar
was a
was.
huge twist.
He
Yeah.
didn't make
Yeah,
a
now
robot.
I knew
he turned
that.
you into a robot.
Yeah,
Oh,
And
okay.
he wasn't just any lich, he was an eldritch lich.
yes.
He was a very naughty boy.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So it would have been if anybody ever actually like, oh sure, what's he look like? Oh, he's a human. How old is he? It's like,
I think everybody in the group was just like, oh shit, his dad's dead. How do we tell him we don't move on?
it's fine, I'll find him. And yeah, I just like thought of a moving tower one that just teleports his spears.
And how do you feel about how Alatar turned out and your siblings?
Was not prepared for siblings at all. That was a fun, absolute curveball on left field. It was like, oh, Quan has no idea how to prepare for this. So that was fun to work through. Alatar, the aliens was fun. I enjoyed that. I am somehow related to Tiamat by marriage, by birth, by
They were married.
no,
Yeah.
sorry.
Just by
stepmother?
doing it.
They had an exchange, that's all.
Baby
my
mama asked-
sister's baby mama,
There you go.
Yes, there you go.
or my sister's mama.
Sister's moment.
The calculus came from like the stereotypical like jealous younger brother. That's
Yep, I have one of those.
and
Very nice.
He's better.
and then
What are you talking about?
Dodge is the blissfully ignorant younger sister that I kind of base off of Data's daughter from Star Trek.
I see it.
Yep.
Very sad episode, but so what about Wonder?
Wait, I want to know your things.
Oh yeah, the things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those things.
Yeah, the thing you didn't show me.
Did you have charts for just people in the group, or did you have them for NPCs
I had
as
for
well?
Talia, Wander, Corey, Ash, Marina, and Dodge. All people that. So I knew at some point I'd probably come with my moss with Alatar, while with you all, and I was like, I have to balance obeying my master between you all. It's like, oh, as a robot, I'm gonna make a chart based on my relationship with you all that will. I'll roll a percentile dice, and depending on what rolls will be what side I go with. As I interact with everybody, whether positive or negative, I would increase percent or decrease percent. And I thought, oh, the max for you all has got to be 50 for each person, since that gives you a 50% chance between Alatar and somebody I just met. And so let's see. I think Talia ended up the highest at 50, just because.
It was a flip of the coin.
Yeah, Talia at 50. Wander and Corey are very close. With Wander 44 and Corey 45.
Yes! He likes me better.
It was an ongoing
Ash is
thing.
probably the lowest.
Ash is the lowest with the 8.
Uncle.
Somebody brought up something that blew my mind
That
last
was me.
week.
Right, yeah.
This
Ash
can't
and
be
Quantum
right.
Never had a one-on-one conversation.
That can't
Who?
be right.
What is
Ash
it?
and Quantum never had a one-on-one
Yep,
conversation.
we never did.
That's funny.
How the hell did you guys?
That's why her percentage was 8.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know her.
And like it would go up like with all of the what the deuce, and then if she did a really positive thing in combat, it would help go up. But then she would constantly try and take
Attack
it from my
plug
own,
in.
Oh,
or do all and everything, bring it down. I think the
hilarious.
lowest she got down to was a 4, and I started everyone at a 5.
And it just happened that way. You guys didn't do it on purpose. did you?
Yeah, it happened that way.
You
Let's
didn't
see.
know idea you're keeping
40,
score.
like I mean, almost 45 episodes. You guys didn't like ever sit
No.
down and just talk at least once.
No.
No, what they talk about.
No.
We had nothing in common with each other.
Other than the group.
Yeah.
Other than the group.
Yes.
Like, I had points of conversation I could talk with Wander about, with Corey about. Mostly just the fact that Corey was just, he needed
Discipline. Or not discipline.
To bathe.
Just
to bathe.
debate.
You have to remember, I have a very sensitive nose.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think you got used to my scent.
Eventually, everyone does.
Yes.
Let's see. Marina was a 22 and Dodge was a 35.
Wow, Dodge got pretty high up there.
I assume that-
Sister bonus.
I assume that when Marina like started interacting with you, that it got higher
Yeah.
because she was teaching you how to fly
Yeah.
the ship and everything.
That's what goes up the most for those interactions.
All those errands with Uncle Quantum paid off.
So speaking of Alatar, I mean, you told me these percentages, and of course they were different at the time.
Yeah.
Once you guys encountered Alatar in the tower, and you had to make, I believe it was a charisma saving throw, and the difficulty I had it secret, depending on what those numbers were, and obviously you succeeded. And then when you brought Alatar back and you had to make those 3 rolls, those were to give Alatar either advantage, neutral, or disadvantage on his wisdom saving throws for the next 3 days afterwards to see whether or not he would be tempted by the power he used to have as a lich. He succeeded, obviously, but
he have advantage?
he had advantage because you did pretty well with the. There was,
Yeah, I think I only have one
One that
really
was maybe
okay
like a
roll.
straight.
yeah, there was one that was like a 12 or something like
Yeah.
that. But that ritual could have gone really bad for you guys. Because he would have contacted either Tiamat or Gadara, and you guys would have had to fight them early, and it would have been
Daddy.
bad for Cherry Tree.
Trust you at all.
Damn. Dodged a bullet there.
Dodged a bullet
A
there.
5-headed
Dodged
bullet.
there.
Yeah, you're also lucky I, for once, made my saving throws.
Yeah.
Yes, thank God.
That's true. They were not wisdom. They were charisma.
Yeah, which Quantum had a 0 on, so it's still a blessing.
Right.
You also had it was a little bit more in your favor because Alatar's form was completely
Yes. It's not expecting a Eldritch Lich,
Nobody does when they find their long lost papa.
right?
He went out for milk? No. He went out for knowledge.
As you do.
different. So what about Wonder?
Wander was a lot of fun because I knew that I wanted to be a tiefling because that was just like on the list of races that I really wanted to play, and I knew I wanted to be a blood hunter because the mechanics of like balancing essentially self-harm with dealing extra damage are really fun to play into. I was really interested in, like, for a long time we kept having conversations about either doing Order of the Lycan or Order of the Ghost Slayer, and if it was Order of the Lycan, I was going to ask you if I could turn into a Hellhound. But we ended up not going that way. I don't remember what for.
You like the stuff that goes there more.
Yeah, I think I liked looking at the potential for building.
What's funny
out.
is that's what your brother ended up being. I had no clue that you were trading up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was one of those things where it was literally I had a text drafted and then I looked a little bit more and I was like, no, I think I want to go the other way. But her biggest thing was that she had a people who betrayed her, and so she swung really, really hard left and found new people, and was starting to come back in equilibrium. So not dissimilar to like Corey, where it's that wide swing because of something that happens. Yeah, I didn't expect the brother aspect to come into it at all. I was just like, yeah, she was a twin. Her brother's not there.
You didn't expect him to show up?
No. No, not at all. What else? Yeah, I also didn't expect Lilith to be anything like important. It was really just if she was seducing her to get information
Well,
to
it's like
steal from her.
those NPCs on the train. I built most of them for different characters, and she was supposed to be a foil to your character. So just like reading your background,
Oh, she'll hate the wealthy.
yeah, she'll hate the wealthy.
Yes.
So that's why I sat her right in front of you.
Oh, absolutely. She really
It
did.
was working.
It's just, and then she's like, wait, what? Which was honestly a lot of fun to play with. But yeah. So it was a lot of that and kind of slowly coming back to center of where she used to be.
And as far as the campaign overall, is there any other story threads that I can expand upon, or what's everybody's favorite NPCs if you have one?
Clever turned out to be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I liked watching his story go back and forth, and like the story with his mother and everything tied to you. It was really interesting to watch unfold. So Clever is definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah, it's hard for me too.
Glad Pete came back.
Yeah,
Was that like
Heard of Pete.
always from the beginning? You knew Pete was going to be in this.
yeah, that's why he survived Curse of Strahd. Otherwise, he would have died with the other cowboys.
I think Pete was one of my favorite antagonistic
Yes,
ones.
he was very fun because it put us out of our box of just punch him and you're done. It's like gotta interrogate and get information, and Pete was fucking holding out.
Yeah, he was.
Jesus.
That was just an entire circumstance of Otter just
And
being like,
what's great is
working with imbeciles.
he's not dead, so he can totally
Yes,
show
he's still out there. He's still out there.
Oh, that was my next question. We never knew the results of his court martial. Are we not going to know yet?
Oh yes.
Or not court martial, his sentencing?
At a later date, I could have Quantum like roll for it. I guess just depending on if he's able to track him down. He does get away, but because he has some help.
Okay, I will drop him into the what's it called? The ethereal, not the ethereal plane.
I don't know what you were going for.
Not limbo, huh?
The place where when you put two bags holding together.
Oh.
The astral plane. I will drop him in the astral plane.
So only Wonder can see him when she's in her.
He's giving her the middle finger.
Come here, bud.
All I need is plane shifting gate, and he's there, and then I'm gone.
Jesus.
I can do it to anybody.
What provoked Quantum's like deep hatred for Pete like that? Like he just was very intent. Was it a justice thing, or was it just a vengeance thing, or was it just like you're a bully and fuck that?
Or was it like a you're annoying thing?
Right, like you're just a pest.
One of the few people I can't just get rid of.
The challenge!
Did he find it like a challenge, like kind of entertaining?
He did do a lot of damage to you.
It was perturbing to see for it to have his own tricks used against him, pretty much.
Nice. That was a fun encounter.
Fucking Misty stepping away.
Yes.
The only reason we didn't die after you all started hitting him is because of that anti-magic field.
Jesus. Pete Cutter don't stay dead for long. Punch him.
Is there anything else?
Did you have a favorite NPC you played?
It's so hard. I mean, Marina's definitely up there because, again, she had a relationship with everybody. But I don't know, the thing between like Dorina and Krunk, that was really sweet.
That's sweet. Yes,
and
that was awesome.
That was a nice callback to campaign 1.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I don't think anybody knew that Delenn had a long lost sister that she had difficulties with.
No, especially because like I remember we rescued Delenn in like the last episode or like the last session for the first campaign.
Dorina was a couple of buildings over.
That is really interesting.
That is interesting. That was a great callback and great job to you. Kudos to you, just keeping that just down low. Just Crunk has not said anything about what he's been up to or anything.
He started his own fucking civilization.
So
With
was
girls fucking everywhere.
Never let that down. Oddly enough, that is not the worst thing I've said.
so without getting into too much detail, how did Crunk end up from being in Nardorf to being in Sky Peak or Airborne and doing all that?
So he met Darina at Milo's wedding, and they connected really well. He found her basically crying because she had a fight with Delin, and he somehow mentioned that he was going to go and reclaim his orc tribe and try to liberate them from violence by challenging the leader. So she decided to go with him, and they connected during this trek, and obviously he was successful in taking the orc tribe, and the whole squirrel thing just went out of control. And Crunk had a lot of money put away along with Darina, and they bought a part of the island on Cherry Tree together, and they built this whole civilization together. So, I mean...
So they used Darina's druid abilities
Yeah.
and Crunk's might and leadership to...
And speaking with squirrels.
And speaking of squirrels.
Yeah.
And not having that work. So the whole conversion from orc to like parasquirrel units.
Yeah.
Does that?
I've had that idea since it was Gwynlyn.
Yeah, it was Gwynlyn. That was her
Introduction.
introduction to the party. Was
Yeah,
talking
was
to
a
a squirrel.
It's all her
Crunk.
fault.
Yep, that's how it all
all her
started.
fault.
It's always Gwynlyn's fault.
It's fair.
Unless it's Grease.
Or Milos.
Or Milos.
Yes, that's true. Could be either.
O'Neill's pretty stable-headed when it comes to
I thought about having the flying squirrels show up during Curse of Strahd, but I was like, no, I gotta have them in the air somehow. So I was like, that's gotta wait till campaign 3.
That was a perfect moment. Didn't see it coming. These
Yeah.
orcs swoop in,
It was
save us.
It was delightful. But speaking of flying, how unlikely was it that we were going to survive the
the one shot?
yeah,
The
Or
Rogue
two
One?
shot?
Rogue
Yeah.
One.
I didn't think anybody was gonna survive. He pulled this thing out of left field. Because, I mean, you guys fought Gadara as a group at level 20, and you had a lot of help. If you had, it probably would have been more difficult to fight her at the keep, because you had the chance in Alatar's tower to go to the keep where the council is staying and fight her along with the council and her Drake riders there.
Oh, fun.
Fighting her at Cherry Tree gave you guys a bigger advantage because instead of her having layer actions, you guys had layer actions basically, and with the help of your friends.
Having layer actions was awesome. That was amazing.
It's nice for them to work with us.
Yeah, but-
Right, seriously, layer actions.
I was intending on killing most of you, not because I wanted to. That's because, I mean, we discussed that, and I will say, it's like after Goober like did that thing, I was somewhat relieved. I was like, oh, I don't have to be a dick and kill anybody.
I
just wish Curly would have stayed inside. Her and I are on my initiative.
Oh, that was so funny.
Just that one statement killed me.
No, I really wish
Wish
you
you
would
had
stay
stayed
inside.
I cast the ball.
Yeah. Which is, honestly, I think it's really funny because you kind of established in this one, it's like once we were off the islands, there was a good chance that we were all gonna die. So I literally made a flowchart to establish what would happen if she died. But, so I was kind of hoping one of my characters was gonna die, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The flowchart with you.
I was
Thank
want there to be a chance, but I never like seek out to do it. I think the one shot was like one of the rare opportunities where I actually did, and it's like when he was asking me, well, how large is the ship? I didn't think anything of it. And as I was looking at my notes, I was like, well, it's a large vessel, and you're like, perfect. And I was like, okay, I mean, I didn't know what he was gonna do, and what was it? It was an anti-magic field or
It was
something
the
like-
Autoluke's
Resilient
resilient sphere,
Yeah.
so it just stops everything, and I'm just standing there and hold it.
I was just like, I imagine I had the same feeling and look on my face that Gadara had, where I'm like, there's nothing I can do about that until it wears off.
Start blowing acid on it, like,
Yeah.
don't do anything.
Get away, get away, get away,
Right,
get away, get away!
just go down, go.
But that's great because it leaves an opportunity for those characters to come back at some point.
Oh yes, Uber was amazing. I loved all those characters. Those characters played really well together.
Annabelle has plans.
Yeah.
She needs to go take over hell.
Was there another part of that question that I forgot to answer?
No, but I do have that flowchart if you would like to see it.
Yes.
I would
can you
like
whip
to
that
I
see
have
down?
the 3 different iterations, yeah.
Let's see. Were there any side stories that either we did something to cut them off or that we just didn't get to?
Oh,
Well, the murder of the grand champion, like, you guys didn't pick up on that at all because you didn't investigate, like, outside the building or trying to figure out where he went or see if there was any other problems.
When was that again?
That was during the ooze attack.
Yeah, the ooze
episode,
attack.
Oh, he died during the ooze attack?
He died that night. Apparently, he went outside and he was assassinated or something.
Yeah, so the
in the
average-
alley.
So
I thought
the,
that was like a recent thing.
No.
no,
Yeah,
that was back in like session 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah, because I wanted to fight him again. He's like, "Oh no, he's dead. He's been dead for a while." Oh, jeez.
And there's a reason that the woman at the museum was helping you out. She had ulterior motives, but you never went back or anything to catch up with her, so you don't know what those ulterior motives are or what her deal was.
well, I didn't need to anymore. Marina fixed things for me.
Right.
Oh, Maria.
Just beefy lady.
I can't really think of anything else. I mean, you guys had multiple paths to take. Again, there were a couple times you guys, when you initially teleported to Alatar's tower, while it was in limbo, and I had you pick between the 2 numbers. If you'd picked the lower one, you guys would have been outside in limbo, and you would have had a whole another set of NPCs you guys would have met while trying to get into the tower. So you would have been able to meet the folks that were attacking the tower. And then obviously you picked the higher number and that teleported you inside. So that's what that choice was. Yeah.
I have a character question. So you remember way back when, session 1, when you gave us our folders and you gave us items.
Yep.
Why the fly? I don't think they even know. Do you guys even know what I'm talking about?
the ebony
Oh,
fly.
no, we knew.
It was a
You're waiting
conscious
for
choice
it.
of, yeah.
Because I thought it was fun. There wasn't an ulterior motive.
I was like, was there something I was supposed to do that we just completely, like, missed?
There is one
Or-
magic item I purposely gave to somebody that that they didn't use. It was the duck scroll.
We used the duck scroll once.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
No.
We
Nobody
never
ever
used it.
talked to the duck on the airship that Corey had a fight with.
Yeah, I don't think Ponto knew about the ducks until the ship was already being attacked.
Yeah, right. Because I just put it in my
Because
room.
that was when he was in his cabin trying to do the spell,
Simulacrum.
for a long spell.
Yeah. He could have given you more details about your tower. Because that duck had seen some stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. I wanted to make Quan too, and it still failed anyways because somebody needed my attention.
Literally, I said no. I wasn't going to bother you. And then we're like, oh, it's the tower.
And as far as for future campaigns that I run, is there anything that I can either improve on or continue to do? As you guys know, I'm already working on this one.
For that one.
And real quick, because I know you're playing Kess, Rulva, and Nick Nack. I almost said No Shoes Curly, but I was like, that's not right.
You decided to play Nick Nack.
Yeah.
Fuck, we're gonna see him grow.
So
More
are
crabs.
you 3 are saying
More
the same
crabs.
characters?
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yes.
you think you'll be joining us for that campaign?
Honestly, why not?
Elizabeth, I know you played Marnie for that like part 2, but would you mind playing a character that is connected to one of your guys's one of the important NPCs for this campaign? You don't have to. I won't make you.
Sure.
And then I'll tell you where I assume it's probably going to be similar to what you're doing with her for this one. But this campaign has a lot of foot travel, and I can show you the map, and it's not a spoiler. You're not going to know what any of this means. But
All of you two
this
can-
is like part of the area you guys are going to have to play with, and parts of it are going to take place above ground, parts of it are going to take place below ground. So I'll have at least 2 separate maps for you guys. One for you guys to keep track of for the upper one more while you're in the Underdark, because the Underdark is, you know, underground.
Is that how that works?
Twisty.
So, thank you. So, for traveling, do you guys enjoy how I've done it? Like when you guys were traveling with Crunk? Because it's going to be a lot more of that, obviously with an Underdark twist. Would you guys like to see more of that? Because there is going to be a lot of traveling between places and parts of the story.
So we've done traveling a couple different ways. Which way did we like it better? I mean, because my traveling on my island was long. Like, did you guys like that? I mean, there's a lot of freaking role playing that happened because of it, as a result. But that was so that way I could give you guys an opportunity and give Alex an opportunity to play Ivanova and develop some of that story since it was a limited time. But did you guys like that, or is it faster?
I enjoy any opportunity to roleplay ever.
Right. Like, I definitely... I mean, the way we did it in Curse of Strahd, how we traveled and set up watch, had role-playing moments. If
It'll be a little bit like that, except longer, because they're...
longer stretches.
Yeah, it's a lot longer stretches.
Okay.
Because you guys are going to have... I mean, technically the entire Sword Coast to explore potentially.
Are you...
So here's what I'm going to say on that. You guys don't know it yet, but there's a crap ton of travel.
And then this one too?
Crap ton of travel.
For sure, ocean
So
travel.
if you have ideas that you want to, like, pilot as far as how the group might approach travel, and you want to float them my way and just, let us try it out, just let me know, and maybe we can, like, play test some stuff just within the realm of my own thing, and
Okay.
then so that you have, so that you know when you're going into yours, you have a better idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feel free to do that. I would never ever complain.
Okay.
And she said she'll play Azyla.
That was my next question.
Azyla or Sashanu.
Who is
That's-
Shanu?
She's trying to make a
I
custom...
was trying to make a custom tabaxi thief type thing.
Okay, we can talk
But it's
about
like a
it.
kitsune.
Whatever you want to do. I just wanted to make sure that I had an idea, and then eventually I'll meet with each of you individually. I might have to meet with the two of you together because I know your characters are very integral to each other.
Yeah, we are.
That's how you sell your shit.
It makes it look pretty. I just make it.
You guys make spaghetti?
We were literally talking about that. Enhance value. Give me the
I was
20%.
genuinely confused. I'm like, why does he keep asking about spaghetti?
I forgot about that.
Knickknacks got
I was listening to that. I was listening to Escape from Minotaur Mountain when I had my accident. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
I think the slower travel would probably work better for knick-knack making stuff as well.
Right. Yeah. If it's
Our
gonna
stuff really
be,
takes a while to make.
and that leads to the question: are you gonna make food a big thing? Because
So there is a survival mechanic for this campaign, and I
Okay.
think that I'm still kind of like working on ideas. And there's also a madness for when you're in the Underdark that you guys
test your
will have
sanity.
sanity effects that affect your character depending on
Knick-knack's
your mental
already fucking
stats.
bonkers, so this would be great.
Yeah, Rilla's got lots of things going on.
But having two characters that have lived in the Underdark will definitely be advantageous to your guys' party.
I mean, one of them's a
A drow?
drow. Yeah.
And
A
then
female
a
drow. And that's one in charge.
And that was another fun little Easter egg for Campaign 3 leading into Campaign 5, or whatever we're going to call it, was Andy.
Andy?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Andy's gonna be there with us.
He'll not be traveling with you guys, but he'll be basically an NPC that you guys can get goods from and whatever, because he's found wonder in his father and everything. He's basically decided to not be a family man, but to... I mean, let's face it, he wasn't that great in combat anyway. I didn't build him for that sort of thing.
Gave him a wooden sword.
Yeah, a wooden sword with holes in it. Yeah, very strange
There's his walking
individual.
stick.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week about Master of 1,000 Steps, where it doesn't really scale for higher levels. So I was thinking about it the other day. What if instead of the 4 damage or whatever it is, they get a point of exhaustion, so that way it's sort of similar like when a barbarian goes
Frenzies.
Frenzies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be more balanced
Yeah.
than, because those 4 hit points you could easily recover that.
And is that going to be per turn or per use
So
of this?
I'm gonna say Master of the Thousand Steps was a happy accident. There was a typo, which allowed for it to do what it does based off of the way that he read it.
Yeah.
And we ran with those rules, and so that's why it doesn't scale, because it
did
wasn't
not
meant
say?
to do exactly how it worked.
What was it supposed to do?
I don't even remember anymore.
I copied and pasted exactly what you
Yes,
gave
yes,
me.
I know you did, but I miswrote
you
something.
miswrote it. Gotcha.
And so you interpreted it the way it was written, but the way it was written was not what it was supposed to do. So it was a happy accident. That was why, for a long time, I didn't use it, because I was thinking of what it was intended for versus how he figured out it was meant to be used. Because, basically what it does is it gives you an extra action
Right.
for a penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's very similar to the frenzy thing that the barbarian has, and the punishment for that is the level of exhaustion. I think that would be a good trade-off, personally. If somebody ends up taking that feat later
If not
on.
worse.
I am happy to hear, though, that you're at least okay with that feat, and that we're planning on potentially keeping it in future campaigns.
Sure. Everybody seemed to enjoy those, so. But good job, everybody. That was a great campaign. It was cool to go from level 3 all the way to 20. I don't think I've ever done that before, so.
Really enjoyed that because it gave us time to grow with the characters, and it gave us time to actually form interpersonal relationships between them and see those dynamics come out. Plus, it's just fun to go to that point where you're like, I am a god, fear me.
Sure. Yeah, felt pretty freaking powerful.
Yeah.
When I could have your damage twice, potentially 3 times.
And hopefully the encounters, I will ask that, if later in the game, do the encounters still feel like, I don't know, white knuckled at points?
Challenging?
Yeah.
Challenging? Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely concerned at times.
Good.
I wasn't feeling godlike at any point, invulnerable. Especially if it was that Tarask. I was like, boy, I hope we're doing some damage. Corey was up the whole time, but he was working his way down. That's the lowest he got.
Oh, really?
For during after he got his rage abilities and be able to have everything. Yeah, that was what I was.
And I did try to integrate more puzzles into this campaign versus 1 and 2, because I know that was a note you guys gave me at the end of campaign 2.
Puzzles are always fun, and when you put them in there randomly to where didn't see it coming at all, so it was nice.
Yeah.
I know when I was listening to the recording, I was trying to figure them out too.
I'm hoping to be able to integrate puzzles into this coming up one, because I know that everyone seems to enjoy them.
Yeah, once every now and again is enough. Just kind of spices it up, and then we just all have to work together and think of solutions, and then get zapped.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I cut up a bunch of the vehicles and terrain from that set I have, Hell and High Water, and I put a list of it along with pictures in the Discord under the help section, because
I did not.
and I tagged you in it because there was nothing else in the help section. I was like, oh, this will be a good place to put it.
Yep.
So if beforehand, I'll always have it with me, but you'll know what I have. Or if you're like, hey, I need 2 boats, can you make sure that's ready to go, or whatever? Or I need 3 coral reefs. So,
Okay. I like that. Thank you.
When it comes to Discord, we're just gonna change the name of the Discord channel, right? From Kingdom of Airborne to what is it? Forgotten. What's the name of the campaign?
Call of Forgotten Kingdom.
The Call of the Forgotten Kingdom.
Oh, maybe change you to the DM now.
Yep. Yeah, we gotta do some permissions changes.
You want to do that real quick while I run to the restroom, and then we
I
can.
kind of feel like we all just started directly messaging Alex instead of the DM chat.
Yeah,
just a little
that's
faster.
essentially what we started doing. So that's probably what we'll do this time, is just do personal chats to you from people when they talk to the
Well, actually, I kind of prefer that you guys would use the DM channel,
what's the
only
difference?
because
One's in
when
the...
on my, at least on my iPad, it shows better.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind.
So is there
I mean, if
anything-
not, I'll live. But
anything else for the breakdown? Or is that about it? Just before I wrap it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're only covering 45 episodes.
I will find more questions. So
I was gonna
maybe
say, I mean,
as
right.
I go through it,
And-
yeah.
and just kudos to Alex. A great freaking
Yeah.
job. Like,
Thanks.
yeah,
I know people
that
you ran
was-
into people at work talking about us because I was chatting about it because it's like a freaking movie that I'm a
Same.
part of, and it was just amazing to be a part of it.
It's like writing a book, but I get to do it with my friends, so I think it's a lot more rewarding.
And for real, every single episode threw me for a loop. Like, no idea. Had no idea where it was going to go, how it was going to be. Never boring. There wasn't one episode that was boring at all. Even if we're just doing shopping, your NPCs and us our shenanigans makes it entertaining enough.
Shenanigans.
And thank you again for being so accommodating for things.
No problem.
Anytime we try to work in, that tattoo, for example, is super OP. Found a way to nerf it,
Yeah.
make it better. So, you are a
Portrait.
great Lord, merciful.
A great merciful Lord, yes.
Yeah.
This is what I figured out.
So that is
You can
campaign
kinda
3
scan through and
breakdown
look
for
at
now. So we have more questions.
Yeah.